So today we're very lucky to be back in Adelaide at the Flinders University this time, the Health and Medical Research Centre with Luke Selth. Hi Luke, how are you?
How you going,
Good
James?
to see you, mate.
You too.
Luke works in prostate cancer, so it'll be good to have a chat with you now and then have a nice walk around the lab in a little while. So let's get started. I mean, here we are in a brand new building up at the Flinders University here. But I mean, where did it all start? I mean, did you always want it to be in science?
Great question. That's taken me back many years now, James.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was young, I was a bit of a sports nut, to be honest, and I wasn't probably thinking about science. I loved playing tennis, and I think the first dream was to become a professional tennis player. When reality set in and I realised that probably wasn't going to be a goer, I'd always liked science. I'd always liked the discovery aspects of science and being able to answer and address new questions. And so during school, I enjoyed biology and chemistry and did pretty well at high school. And so one thing led to another, and here I am today.
So what happened from school? Did you decide from school that you wanted to follow science into university? Did you make that leap straight away?
Pretty much. I was studying biology and chemistry, and I really enjoyed them. And it turned out I was quite good at it too. And so it was a fairly natural progression to say, okay, well, let's do a degree in biology. And actually, I did a degree in biotechnology here at Flinders many years ago. Yep. And from there, went on to a PhD, and now leading a cancer research group.
Wow, okay. It's quite a jump though. I think you've minimised it a little bit from going from doing a PhD to leading a cancer research group, and quite an esteemed group in itself. Do you do like a postdoc? Did you do that here, or did you go overseas for something like that?
Yeah, so after my PhD, which actually I should tell you a little bit about that because that was completely different to what I'm doing now. I was actually studying a virus that infects tomato plants, would you believe it, at the Waite Institute at Uni of Adelaide. It was really interesting, but at that time my mum got sick with cancer and I sort of became interested in cancer biology and cancer research. And so I decided that I wanted to do something quite different, and I looked at options to study overseas, and I went and did a postdoc at the London Research Institute, which is this fantastic place in London, obviously. It's funded by Cancer Research UK, one of the big charities over there.
Yep.
And yeah, that really gave me great training and background in cancer biology. And then I brought that expertise back here and started my own group in Adelaide again.
Awesome. I know the building you're talking about, and I've walked past that building a couple of times, and it's very, very impressive. So what an amazing place to be able to do a postdoc in. And so where did you find, therefore, your you came back from London, and what was your first job in science?
Yeah, so as I said, I was really into cancer research at that time, and I was looking around Adelaide for options. I was interested actually particularly in prostate cancer, mainly because, again, family connection. My pop had prostate cancer and passed away from it. And I just got a great opportunity to work with a lab at Uni of Adelaide that was a prostate and breast cancer research group. And from there, sort of established my own independent research program. And I stayed at Uni of Adelaide for quite a long time. And then about 5 years ago, I moved it all to Flinders University.
Yeah, okay, right. It's an interesting transfer from one different place to another, but it's what you were saying before about the history within your family and how that steers you obviously resonates with me a lot as well. Yes. Being the fact of that history in my family and how it steered us in with box rallies. So it makes it personal, and therefore your drive for it becomes a lot more, which I completely understand.
Absolutely.
So how long would you say? I don't want to do with aging, anything like that. I don't want to be ageist in here, but how long would you say you've been working in sort of cancer research for now?
Well, great question. I would say I started my postdoc in London in 2005, so we're getting nigh on 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Long time. It's been an incredible journey, and it's been very difficult at times, but very rewarding as well. So,
Yeah, I'm sure it has. And so I can't imagine it's just you here. I should imagine you've got a broader team that you work with here.
It's very much not me. In fact, I get into the lab very rarely these days. When I've done the lab coat, I think my group actually get a bit worried when I wander into the lab because
don't touch anything.
Yes, exactly. No, so I have a wonderful group that do all the fantastic work that we do in the lab, and so I have 2 research officers who've been with me for over a decade each. Just wonderful people, incredible scientists. I've got a postdoctoral fellow, a guy who did his PhD with me. He actually came from Nepal and has stayed with me for about 8 years now. I have 3 PhD students, including 1 industry researcher PhD. So this is a person that works at a company but wanted to do a PhD, and so this gives us a really nice link with industry and a way to, push our work towards sort of real world outcomes. And we also have access here at Flinders University to a huge cohort of medical students who are all required to do some research. So we're really lucky we have a couple of those that do some research in our group as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's wonderful. And I suppose from an education point of view and a university point of view, it's that link is sensational, as you said, being able to have people that really are at uni are looking at it. And then they can look at you and your team and just go, wow, this is my pathway.
Yeah.
I can see a pathway all the way through.
Absolutely. And actually that's, really one of the most rewarding parts of the job is training this next generation of scientists and people who are interested in research. And these young guys are just so passionate about what they're doing. So we're really fortunate to be able to train those and hopefully, establish the next generation of fantastic cancer researchers in Australia and beyond.
Yeah, shoring up that next generation is so important. We've seen more recently the scientific world and how making sure that we support the scientific world can benefit us all in such dramatic ways. Would you say that's probably one of the things that you like the most about the work that you do, sort of looking at the people that come through, or is there something else that really is a highlight for you?
Yeah, no, definitely the sort of mentoring aspect of it is probably the most rewarding part of the job. I've been lucky to have many students that have come from overseas, from various countries, India, China, Nepal, as I said, and training them. And often they will go back to their home country or to another country, and watching them flourish. Some of them have gone on to have just stellar research careers themselves and are now running their own groups. That's probably the best part of the job. I mean, the other things, the kind of obvious one in research is we discover new things every week.
Yeah.
They're often not huge things, but it's a really nice part of the job that you're going to be finding new stuff that will be telling us more about, in our case, prostate cancer. And so that's a wonderful part of the job as well, just that discovery and being able to satisfy your curiosity on a very regular basis.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's amazing work. It really is. Let's talk about grant application. So as you mentioned before that you don't spend quite so much time in the lab, you've got your team that does that, which I suspect results in the fact that you spend a lot of your time doing grant applications.
Well, the reason I'm not in the lab these days very, very often is because I'm spending a lot of time writing grant applications. We've just spoken about the things I like best about my job. This is possibly the aspect of the job that I like least. I spend a lot of time trying to attract funding for our group because this sort of research is not cheap, as you can imagine. It's kind of amazing considering what we've just been through in terms of the pandemic that there isn't more value put on biomedical research in this country, in my perspective. And so it is actually difficult to obtain funding to do, the sort of cancer research that we do. So yes, I spend a lot of my time doing that. Look, I'm writing multiple grant applications right at the moment. I sort of write between maybe 5 and 8 a year. So it takes up a huge amount of my time.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? I completely agree with you. And hopefully, some of these videos will start to put us in a position where we can really do some work with the government to really start to open a little bit more funding. It's desperately needed, and it should be coming into the right places.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just, give a plug for organisations like Box Rallies. We would not be able to do the work that we do without, organisations like Box Rallies, because of this current funding climate that is just so tight. And so it's really wonderful to have organisations and charities like yours to support what's, really world-class research going on in Australia that would not otherwise be funded.
Well, that's why we're here, mate. We'll keep doing it. We'll keep funding as much as we can for as long as we can. So let's have a quick talk about something that you're most proud of in your entire career. What's a cherished achievement?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there's been obviously lots of little things over the years. And I think probably just our group's work that has increased our understanding of how prostate cancer metastasizes around the body, spreads around the body, but also becomes resistant to therapy. That research has actually really led to new ways of thinking about how we should treat prostate cancer. And so we're really proud of that. And that's been a body of work over a long period of time. It's not just one achievement, but it's really over, as I said, almost 2 decades now, that sort of work. And I probably would go back to our training of the next generation of scientists, and particularly those that have established their own groups in Australia and around the world, because it's just incredible to see the impact that they're having. And that reflects on our group as well. And so that's a really nice achievement.
Yeah, okay, very nice. And so where would you like to see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, the age-old 5 years question. Where will we be? Look, we, as I said, do, I think, really world-class research, very much lab-based research. And what we've been trying to do more recently is accelerate the translation of that to patient impact. And so that's what we're really trying to do in the next 5 years. And we actually have an incredible environment here at Flinders University, where we have the Flinders Medical Centre, we have the private hospital, we have the Flinders Centre for Innovation in Cancer as well. So we have all of these pathways to translate our work into patient impact, essentially, trying to improve outcomes for patients. So over the next 5 years, we're trying to sort of build on that, and that's about engaging with clinicians, running clinical trials, engaging with industry to accelerate drug development and biomarker development. Yeah, so in a nutshell, it's about having more direct impact on patients. That's what we would like to do, and that's, I think, obviously what we're in the job for, to really try and help cancer patients and their families and loved ones.
Mm-hmm. All right, so outside of cancer, you look pretty fit. Do you still play tennis, or what do you do when you're not here?
Look, it's not about my sports career anymore. It's about the kids. But I do get out onto the court every now and then, and that is probably the most important outlet for me. But yeah, I do a lot of sports with the kids. We do a lot of outdoor activities, hiking and going to our local parks and playgrounds. I do like reading books. I get right into hardcore fantasy novels, the most escapist stuff you can find. And so that's sort of how the sort of stuff that I use to unwind outside of work.
Yeah, great. And how about a bucket list? Do you have an item on a bucket list that you're thinking about taking off?
It's funny you ask that, because one thing I've always wanted to do is go hot air ballooning.
Yeah.
And we're actually about to do that, my wife and I, in a few weeks' time. But I was supposed to do that about 20 years ago in Turkey. Had this amazing hot air ballooning trip lined up over a place called Cappadocia. It's the place to do it in the world. Had a bad kebab.
Oh, no.
Was sick for 3 days and so could not do my hot air ballooning. So finally we'll be doing it up in the Barossa, which I think will be wonderful in a few weeks' time. Beautiful. So we can tick that one off the list.
Awesome. Lovely chatting to you. I look forward to walking through the lab.
Thanks,
Thank you.
James. Fantastic.